Ambassador Vex-19 stared at the holographic transmission, his three eyes blinking in what could only be described as bewilderment. The blue-scaled diplomat from the Korathian Empire had seen many species surrender, beg, or attempt desperate negotiations when faced with their mighty fleet. But this was entirely new. Did they just tell us a joke about fish? Vex-19 asked his aide, Lieutenant Growl-8, who was frantically checking the translation matrix for errors. Sir, the translation is accurate. The human representative, Captain Jake Murphy, responded to our demand for immediate surrender with, and I quote, "Why don't fish pay attention? Because they're below sea level." Then he laughed for approximately 14 seconds. Vex-19's mandibles clicked nervously. Run it again. The hologram flickered back to life, showing Captain Murphy's grinning face. The human had an annoyingly relaxed posture, leaning back in what appeared to be an ordinary chair, sipping something from a mug that read "World's Okayest, Captain." "Greetings, mighty Korathian Empire," Murphy had said, his voice dripping with mock reverence. "We received your ultimatum about surrendering our pathetic little solar system, and boy, do we have a response for you." Vex-19 had straightened, expecting the usual groveling or desperate counteroffers. Instead, Murphy grinned wider. "What do you call a sleeping bull in space? It's a bulldozer." He slapped his knee and chuckled at his own joke. "Get it? Bulldozer? Because it's sleeping? And we're in space?" The transmission had ended with Murphy winking and saying, "We'll be waiting for your next move, big guys. Hope you brought your sense of humor." "Sir." Growl-8 ventured carefully. "Perhaps this is some form of psychological warfare we haven't encountered before." Vex-19 rubbed his temples with two of his forearms. "Send another transmission. Make it clear that we have 17,000 warships surrounding their system. Surely they'll understand the gravity of their situation." The response came back within an hour. This time, a different human appeared on screen. A woman with short red hair and an impish smile. Her nameplate read Admiral Lisa Kozlov. "Hello again, scaly friends," she chirped. 17,000 ships, huh? That's impressive. You know what else is impressive? My dad's attempt at cooking last night. It was so bad, even the smoke alarm was applauding." She paused for effect, then continued. "But seriously, folks, we appreciate the show of force. Really we do. It must have cost you a fortune in fuel. Speaking of which, why don't aliens ever land at airports?" Vex-19 found himself leaning forward despite his better judgment, "Because they're looking for space." Admiral Kozlov burst into laughter, slapping the table. "Space? Get it? Like outer space, but also parking space? Oh, that's gold." The transmission ended with her wiping tears from her eyes and promising to keep the laughs coming. Growl-8 looked at his superior with growing concern. "Sir, should we proceed with the invasion?" "Not yet," Vex-19 muttered. "I need to understand what we're dealing with here. Contact High Command. Tell them we're encountering unusual resistance." The response from High Command was swift and predictably aggressive. Supreme General Thok Prime's scaled face filled the screen, his scarred visage radiating barely contained fury. "Ambassador Vex-19, you have been in that system for 2 cycles without achieving surrender." The Emperor grows impatient. "Supreme General, the humans are different. They respond to our threats with what they call humor." "Humor?" Thok Prime's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Explain." Vex-19 played the recordings. He watched as Thok Prime's expression shifted from rage to confusion to something that might have been amusement, before snapping back to fury. "This is clearly a form of mental warfare designed to confuse us," Thok Prime declared. "Double the fleet size." He threatened to glass their planet. Surely that will end this comedy routine. The next transmission featured the entire human command structure. 5 officers sat around a table, all wearing matching t-shirts that read Earth's Mightiest Comedians. At the center sat a graying man whose nameplate identified him as Fleet Admiral Tom Bradley. 34,000 ships now?" Admiral Bradley whistled appreciatively. "You guys don't mess around, do you? That's more ships than my ex-wife had complaints about me. And trust me, That's saying something. The other officers chuckled. One of them, Commander Beth Sanders, leaned forward. You know, Admiral, I think our new friends here might be compensating for something. What do you think? Oh, definitely, Bradley nodded sagely. You know what they say about species with really big fleets. He paused dramatically. They have really small patience. The entire group erupted in laughter. Captain Murphy, who Vex 19 recognized from the first transmission, wiped his eyes and added, speaking of patience, why did the alien cross the galaxy? Why? The others asked in unison, clearly playing along, to get to the other side. Murphy's delivery was so enthusiastic that even Growl 8 made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Admiral Bradley stood up, his expression suddenly serious. But in all honesty, folks from the Korathian Empire, we do appreciate the visit. It's not often we get guests who travel so far just to say hello, although next time, maybe call first. We would have cleaned up the solar system a bit. Jupiter's looking a little dusty. And don't get me started on Saturn's rings. Vacancies are a total mess. The transmission ended with the entire group waving cheerfully and promising to keep the entertainment coming. Vex 19 stared at the blank screen. In his 200 years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans were facing complete annihilation with the same energy others might bring to a casual dinner party. Sir. Growl 8 spoke hesitantly. I've been analyzing their communications. There's something odd. Define odd. Everything about this species is odd. Well, sir, their jokes, they're terrible, objectively awful. Yet they seem genuinely delighted by them, and more concerning, I find myself anticipating their responses. Vex 19 looked at his aide with alarm. You're not enjoying this, are you? Growl 8's scales flushed a deeper blue. I might have researched what they call puns during my off-duty hours. Lieutenant. Dennett, I know, sir. I know it's unprofessional. But did you know that puns are considered the lowest form of humor among humans, yet they continue to use them extensively? It's fascinating from an anthropological standpoint. Before Vex 19 could respond, another transmission arrived. This time it was a single human, a young woman with bright green hair and an enormous grin. Her nameplate read Lieutenant Commander Sarah Patel. Greetings, our persistent friends. She began cheerfully. We heard you might be getting a little frustrated with our previous responses, so we thought we'd try a different approach. She cleared her throat theatrically. Why don't we take this opportunity to discuss the philosophical implications of interstellar warfare? Just kidding. What do you call a fish wearing a crown? Vex 19 found himself leaning forward again. King Neptune. But wait, there's more. What do you call a fish wearing a boatie? Despite himself, Vex 19 was curious about the answer, sophisticated. Lieutenant Commander Patel burst into giggles. Get it? Sophisticated but with fish? Because fish are fishy? The transmission continued with Patel delivering an unrelenting barrage of aquatic-themed jokes, each one worse than the last, yet somehow more endearing. She concluded with, we hope you're having a whale of a time out there. Don't let our humor flounder your spirits. As the screen went dark, Vex 19 noticed something troubling. He was smiling. Not the predatory smile of a successful negotiation, but something warmer. Sir. Growl 8 said quietly. I think we have a problem. What kind of problem? Gak. I believe the humans are winning. Winning? We have 34,000 warships. They have 12 outdated cruisers and what appears to be a mining station held together with adhesive tape. Yes, sir, but... Growl 8 paused, choosing his words carefully. When was the last time you looked forward to hearing from an enemy? The question hit Vex 19 like a plasma bolt. He had been anticipating each human transmission with growing enthusiasm. Worse yet, he had started rating their jokes and developing preferences for certain human comedians. This is impossible, he muttered. We are the Korathian Empire. We have conquered 400 systems. We do not get emotionally attached to our enemies. Of course not, sir. But perhaps we should consider that the humans might not actually be our enemies. They refuse to surrender. Well, technically, sir, they haven't said no. They've just been entertaining us. Another transmission arrived. This time it was Captain Murphy again, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood what appeared to be the entire crew of their flagship, all wearing ridiculous hats and holding signs with jokes written on them. "Attention, Korathian Empire," Murphy announced. "We've been having such a great time with these communications that we decided to throw a party. Want to join us?" The camera panned across the crowd, showing humans of all ages and backgrounds, all grinning and waving. One elderly woman held up a sign that read, "What do you call an alien who loves to clean? It's a vacuum." Another young man's sign proclaimed, "Why don't aliens ever get tired? Because they have plenty of space to rest." "We know you've come a long way," Murphy continued, "and we don't want you to feel unwelcome. So we're extending an official invitation to the first ever human Korathian Comedy Festival. Admission is free, and we promise not to charge you for parking. We've got plenty of space." He gestured broadly at the star field around them. Admiral Bradley stepped into frame. "We've prepared a special welcome package for your fleet commanders. It includes our finest Earth beverages, a collection of our best jokes categorized by subject matter, and a complimentary t-shirt that says I traveled 50,000 light years, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt and some amazing friends." The transmission ended with the entire crowd shouting in unison, "Come for the conquest, stay for the comedy." Vex 19 stared at the screen long after it went dark. In his career, he had seen species react to impending conquest with terror, desperation, rage, and resignation. He had never seen anyone respond with an invitation to a party. "Sir," Growlate said softly, "what are your orders?" For the first time in his diplomatic career, Ambassador Vex 19 had absolutely no idea what to do next. 3 days passed before Vex 19 worked up the courage to contact High Command again. During that time, his fleet had received no fewer than 17 different comedy transmissions from various human vessels. Each one was more ridiculous than the last, featuring everything from knock-knock jokes to elaborate musical numbers about the perils of intergalactic travel. The worst part: his crew was starting to request specific shows. "Ambassador," came the gravelly voice of Communications Officer Dex 22, "the humans are broadcasting again. They're calling this one Afternoon Laughs with Captain Torres. The crew is eager to watch." Vex 19 rubbed his aching head. "Put it on screen, but make it clear this is for intelligence gathering purposes only." Captain Elena Torres appeared, sitting in what looked like a cozy living room complete with a fireplace and houseplants. She held a steaming mug and smiled warmly at the camera. "Good afternoon, our spacefaring friends. I hope everyone's having a stellar day out there." "Get it? Stellar? Because we're surrounded by stars?" She chuckled at her own wordplay. "Today's show is dedicated to all the hard-working folks in the Korathian fleet. We know it must be exhausting maintaining all those ships." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "Speaking of maintenance, why don't aliens ever need mechanics?" Several of Vex 19's bridge crew perked up with interest, "because they always have their space tools." "Now," Torres slapped her knee. "But seriously, folks, we've been thinking about your situation. You've traveled so far from home. You're probably missing family, friends, decent food. Homesickness is real, even in space." Her expression grew genuinely sympathetic. "So we wanted to share something special with you, a little piece of Earth hospitality." The camera pulled back to reveal a full table spread with various foods. "This is a traditional Earth meal called Sunday dinner. We've got roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and apple pie for dessert. Now, we can't exactly deliver this to your ships, but we thought we'd describe every delicious bite so you could at least imagine what you're missing." What followed was the most torturous 15 minutes of Vex 19's life as Torres lovingly described each dish, the preparation methods, and the cultural significance of sharing meals with friends and family. By the end, half his bridge crew was drooling, and the other half looked genuinely homesick for a planet they'd never visited. "The signal's ended, sir," Dex 22 reported quietly. Should I record their next broadcast?" Before Vex 19 could answer, Supreme General Thok Prime's face appeared on the main screen, his expression thunderous. Ambassador, I've been receiving disturbing reports about your mission status. Explain why my intelligence network is telling me that your crew has started a betting pool on human Joe quality. Vex 19's blood ran cold. Sir, I can explain. Explain? Explain? Half your communications officers have requested extended shore leave to study human humor for strategic purposes. Your weapons master submitted a formal request to rename his plasma cannons after Earth comedians, and your tactical officer has been caught practicing what he calls stand-up routines in the mess hall. The accusation hit like a physical blow because it was entirely accurate. Lieutenant Growl 8 had indeed been workshopping material, and his routine about the differences between Korathian and human mating rituals had been surprisingly well received. Supreme General, the humans are employing a form of psychological warfare we've never encountered. They're making us like them. Thok Prime's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow managed to be more terrifying than his shouting. Like them? Yes, sir. Instead of inspiring fear or respect, they're generating affection, fondness. My crew looks forward to their transmissions. We've started referring to them by their first names. Yesterday, Engineer CAC-7 asked if we could send them a care package. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. This ends now, Thok Prime finally said. I'm sending Admiral Vox Prime with the 3rd Battle Fleet, 40,000 additional ships. You will cease all communication with the humans and prepare for immediate planetary bombardment. And the transmission cut off, leaving Vex 19 staring at a blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew looked genuinely distressed. Sir, Growl 8 ventured, surely we're not going to actually attack them? They've been so nice. Nice doesn't matter, Lieutenant. Orders are orders. But even as he said it, Vex 19 felt a knot forming in his stomach. The idea of destroying Earth, of silencing Captain Murphy's terrible jokes and Torres's warm dinner descriptions, felt wrong in a way he couldn't articulate. The humans, meanwhile, seemed blissfully unaware of their impending doom. Their next transmission featured a group calling themselves the Earth Emergency Comedy Response Team, led by a cheerful woman named Dr. Rachel Kim. Greetings, our patient friends in the big scary fleet. Dr. Kim waved enthusiastically. We've noticed you've been awfully quiet lately, so we thought you might need some cheering up. Today's prescription is laughter. And trust me, I'm a doctor, so you know it's good medicine. She gestured to her team, a motley group of humans wearing lab coats over their military uniforms. We've prepared a special treatment plan for cosmic-scale stress. First, we need to address the root cause of your anxiety. Tell me, when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, what do you see? One of her assistants, a young man with an infectious grin, jumped in. Erectile dysfunction. The entire group burst into laughter. Dr. Kim nodded seriously. Exactly. You see, the problem isn't with Earth or humanity. The problem is that you've forgotten how to have fun. When's the last time you laughed? Really laughed? She pulled out what appeared to be a medical chart. According to our research, the average Korathian warrior experiences joy approximately 0.3 times per solar cycle. That's medically concerning. Humans laugh an average of 15 times per day. No wonder you're so grumpy. The prescription that followed included daily doses of puns, regular comedy breaks, and mandatory fun activities. It was absurd, medically questionable, and somehow completely endearing. As the transmission ended, Vex 19 realized he was smiling again. Worse, he was already looking forward to their next broadcast. That's when Admiral Vox Prime arrived. The veteran commander was everything Vex 19 wasn't: scarred, humorless, and absolutely committed to Korathian military doctrine. His flagship, the Dreadbringer, was a massive dreadnought that had personally overseen the conquest of 73 worlds. Ambassador Vex 19, Vox Prime's voice crackled over the comm. You are hereby relieved of command. All ships will prepare for planetary bombardment in 6 hours. Admiral, perhaps we should attempt one final negotiation. Negative. These creatures have clearly compromised your judgment. All human transmissions are to be blocked immediately. The order went out across the combined fleet: no more human comedy shows, no more joke exchanges, no more friendly banter. The communication blackout was immediate and absolute. For the first time in weeks, the Korathian fleet sat in complete silence. It lasted exactly 47 minutes. "Sir," Vox Prime's own communications officer reported nervously, "we're receiving an unauthorized transmission from the human flagship." I gave explicit orders. "Sir, they're not broadcasting to us. They're broadcasting to each other, but on an open channel. They seem to think we can't hear them." Despite his better judgment, Vox Prime ordered the transmission put on screen. Captain Murphy sat alone in what appeared to be his quarters, speaking quietly into a handheld device. Personal log. Captain Jake Murphy. Today marks day 12 of what I'm calling the Great Silence. Our new friends in the really big ships haven't responded to any of our shows. I'm starting to worry we might have offended them somehow. He sighed deeply. Maybe our jokes really are as bad as my ex-wife always said they were, but you know what? Even if they are terrible, they made people smile. They brought us together. They turned a potentially terrifying situation into fun. Murphy's voice grew quieter. I keep thinking about Ambassador Vex 19. Yeah, I know his name. We looked it up. Did you know he's been a diplomat for 200 years? 200 years of traveling the galaxy, meeting new species, probably seeing a lot of conflict and conquest. When's the last time someone told him a joke just to make him smile? The camera pulled back slightly, revealing Murphy's modest quarters, family photos, books, a guitar in the corner. If this is our last transmission, if they've decided to end this whole experiment, I want them to know something. We weren't making jokes because we didn't take them seriously. We were making jokes because we took them very seriously. Because humor is how humans deal with scary situations. It's how we connect with strangers. It's how we say, hey, despite all our differences, maybe we're not so different after all. Murphy looked directly into the camera, as if he could see through the screen to the thousands of alien warriors watching him. So if you're listening, Ambassador Vex 19, Admiral Vox Prime, all you warriors and diplomats and engineers and communications officers who've been putting up with our terrible puns, thank you. Thank you for giving us the chance to share something uniquely human with you. Thank you for letting us show you that Earth's greatest weapon isn't our missiles or our shields. He smiled, that same warm, genuine smile that had started this whole mess. It's our ability to find joy, even when we're scared. It's our insistence on being kind even to strangers who could destroy us. It's our belief that anyone, anywhere in the universe, deserves to laugh at least once a day. The transmission ended with Murphy simply saying, "Earth out." The silence that followed was deafening. Admiral Vox Prime stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Around him, his bridge crew shifted uncomfortably. Several of them were wiping their eyes. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "bombardment systems are ready." Vox Prime's finger hovered over the activation switch. One press, and the most annoying, endearing, frustrating species he'd ever encountered would be reduced to cosmic dust. "Admiral," came a voice from behind him. Vox Prime turned to see Ambassador Vex 19 standing at the bridge entrance, flanked by what appeared to be representatives from every ship in the fleet. "I thought I relieved you of duty." "You did, sir. But the crew has voted, all of them. Every ship, every officer, every enlisted warrior in this fleet. The vote was unanimous." "Voted on what?" Vex 19 straightened, his three eyes meeting Vox Prime's four, on whether Earth represents a threat to the Korathian Empire. "And they don't, sir. They represent something much more dangerous." Vex 19's voice grew stronger. "They represent the possibility that conquest isn't the only way to expand our empire. They represent the idea that maybe, just maybe, we could try making friends instead of subjects." Admiral Vox Prime looked around his bridge, seeing the faces of warriors who had followed him through countless battles. Every single one of them was nodding in agreement. "You're all insane. This entire fleet has been compromised by enemy psychological warfare." "Yes, sir." Vex 19 agreed cheerfully. "And it's the best thing that's ever happened to us." That's when the final human transmission arrived. The entire Earth command structure appeared on screen, But this time they weren't wearing joke t-shirts or funny hats. They were in full military dress uniforms. Standing at attention, Admiral Bradley stepped forward. "Korathian fleet, we know you're preparing to attack. Our sensors show your weapons charging, your ships in bombardment formation. We understand that this is bigger than just our two species. You have orders, responsibilities, an empire to maintain." His expression was grave but not afraid. "We want you to know that we don't blame you. We've enjoyed these past weeks more than we can express. You've given us something precious, the chance to share our culture, our humor, our humanity with friends from across the stars." Captain Murphy joined him. "If this is the end, we're grateful it came after friendship instead of before it. That's more than most species get." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "We've prepared one final transmission for you. Not a joke, not a comedy show. A gift." The screen changed to show views of Earth from orbit, blue oceans, white clouds, green continents teeming with life. Then it shifted to ground level, children playing in parks, families sharing meals, people of all ages and backgrounds working, laughing, and living together. "This is what you would be destroying," Bradley's voice continued over the images. "Not just a planet, but billions of individual stories. Every person you see has told jokes, shared laughter, made someone else smile. Every one of them matters." The images continued, scientists making discoveries, artists creating beauty, teachers inspiring students, so ordinary people doing extraordinary things through simple acts of kindness. "But here's the thing," Murphy's voice joined in. "Even if you do this, even if you follow your orders, the jokes don't die with us, because somewhere out there, in some distant galaxy, another species is probably telling their version of our terrible puns. Another group of friends is probably laughing at something silly and wonderful, and absolutely ridiculous." The transmission ended with a simple message displayed across the screen. "Thank you for reminding us that the universe is big enough for friendship. Live long and prosper, you magnificent scaly comedians." Admiral Vox Prime stared at his weapons console for what felt like an eternity. His finger still hovered over the activation switch. One press. That's all it would take. Instead, he reached over and pressed a different button entirely. "This is Admiral Vox Prime of the Korathian 3rd Battle Fleet. All ships stand down from attack positions. Repeat, stand down from attack positions." He looked around at his crew, then at Ambassador Vex 19, then back at the screen where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. "Communications. Open a channel to the human flagship." "Channel open, sir." Vox Prime cleared his throat, suddenly feeling more nervous than he had before any battle. "Captain Murphy, this is Admiral Vox Prime. We, the Korathian Empire, would like to accept your invitation to the comedy festival. But I should warn you, our jokes are probably even worse than yours." The response came back immediately, Murphy's face filling the screen with that impossible human grin. "Admiral, welcome to the show. And don't worry about your jokes being bad. The worse they are, the better we'll like them. That's the whole point. Woof." And that's how the Korathian Empire's conquest of Earth became the galaxy's first interstellar comedy exchange program. 6 months later, Ambassador Vex 19 would be promoted to Director of Interspecies Cultural Relations, and Captain Murphy would receive the Korathian Empire's highest civilian honor, and Admiral Vox Prime would discover he had a genuine talent for physical comedy. But none of that mattered as much as this moment, two species, separated by millions of light years of evolution, finding common ground in the simple, ridiculous, and wonderful act of making each other laugh. After all, the universe is vast and often dark. Sometimes the best thing you can do is shine a little light into it, even if that light comes from the worst pun anyone's ever heard.